Hello, it's your friend CJ Werleman, and this week we reveal how Hamas has grown stronger in Gaza and why Syria is ripping apart the alliance between Israel and the United States. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Last week, I attended the Doha Forum in Qatar, where I met and spoke with prominent diplomats, journalists and commentators, including Christiane Amanpour and Tucker Carlson. The latter, who I personally thanked and praised for playing such a vital role in shifting American attitudes away from Israel and towards the Palestinians. He and I may differ on almost every issue imaginable, but his contribution towards the Palestinian cause cannot be denied, and he deserves great credit for that, despite the awfully racist and Islamophobic things he has said in times past. We summarized his stunning political and personal transformation in a recent episode. I urge you to watch it. But the most revealing conversation I had in Doha was with US Ambassador Tom Barak, who told me that tensions between the United States and Israel have reached an unprecedented boiling point over Syria, adding that President Trump told Netanyahu to back off or else. Barak told me Israel wants to foment a new war in Syria to divide the country, keep it weak and sabotage the new government. Whereas the United States believes maintaining peace and stability in the Arab country will have positive repercussions throughout the region. This stance has infuriated Israel, which is why, in a rare break with protocol, the Zionist regime is now publicly attacking the US ambassador by accusing him of advancing Turkey's interests at the expense of Israel's security, with Netanyahu accusing Barak of acting with hostility towards the State of Israel. This is a really big deal because for the first time since the Iraq-Iran war in the 1980s, the United States and Israel have competing interests and objectives in an Arab country. The ambassador told me that Israel believes a unified Sunni Arab state on its border is the sum total of Israel's worst fears because it poses an existential threat to the Israeli occupation of the Syrian Golan Heights and the Palestinian West Bank. Israel not only sees the new Syria as a potential staging ground for future attacks against the Zionist state, but also as a source of inspiration for revolutionary movements throughout the region, particularly in neighboring Jordan and Egypt. The ambassador's words were echoed by a senior Israeli intelligence officer on Israeli TV.
מה שקורה שם זה אירוע, אם דיברנו על אירוע אסטרטגי שקורה ברצועה, זה אירוע מגה אסטרטגי, זה בעצם שבירה טקטונית של הסכמי סייקס-פיקו, של כל הסדר במזרח התיכון שנקבע אי שם ב-1916, ויש פה שבירה משמעותית של המתכון של הסדר הישן. אנחנו צריכים לוודא שיש אזור חיץ בינינו לבין הסונים, שהוא אזור חיץ שאו שמלא בכוחות צה"ל, לצורך העניין, שזה דבר שהוא אולי הוא קצת פחות ריאלי.
Israel's mounting fears were heightened on the 8th of December, when the new Syrian army chanted pro-Palestine slogans while expressing solidarity with Gaza, along with vows to liberate the Palestinian people. Israel responded to the Syrian army's parade by declaring that war is inevitable, which is a somewhat ridiculous declaration given Israel has already bombed the Arab country more than 1,000 times since Assad fled for Moscow exactly 1 year ago, while also not forgetting that Russia delivered Israel the GPS coordinates to all of Assad's military assets and sites to prevent them from falling into the hands of the new Syrian government. Israel's bombing campaign in Syria, along with its financial and military support of separatist Druze and Kurdish militias, has prompted a rare but strong rebuke from the United States, which has publicly accused Israel of destabilizing the country, while warning Netanyahu that he's on the path to self-destruction if he continues working against the United States. Yesterday, Israeli media outlets reported that the US ambassador will set clear red lines on Israeli activity in Syria. President Trump echoed this sentiment, saying he will not allow Israel to interfere with Syria's evolution into a prosperous state.
On the US troops killed in Syria over the weekend, why do we have troops in Syria?
Because we're trying to make sure that there's going to be and remain peace in the Middle East, and Syria is a big part of it. The new leader is a strong person, and that's what you need. This is a rough part of the world.
But Israel isn't backing down. It's challenging the US to a showdown in Syria, one that will not end well for the Zionist state, which was doubly angered when the US Congress voted to normalize the new Syrian government by ending crippling economic sanctions that had been imposed on the Arab country since 2019.
Across the cities of Syria, hundreds of thousands of people celebrate the day their lives changed. Just a year ago, this would have been unthinkable. And then a half-century of dynastic rule, one that survived the uprisings and civil wars, fell in a matter of days.
We cannot describe or measure the happiness that myself and everyone else here feels. We have no words to describe it because this is the first time we have seen a military parade by an army whom we love and loves us.
Adding to Israel's growing distress is the growing bond between the Palestinian resistance and the new Syrian government, a bond built on a shared history and a common foe, remembering that Ismail Haniyeh was one of the very first Arab leaders to lend public support to the Syrian revolution in 2011. This support was reiterated by Hamas last week.
تدفع إسرائيل في المنطقة اليوم في خطر على كل دولة اليوم، يعني اليوم انظر ماذا تفعل إسرائيل في لبنان، ماذا تفعل في سوريا. أنت ذكرت سوريا قبل قليل حتى لا أنسى، يعني إحنا كان لنا علاقة مع النظام السابق، لكن أيضا في لحظة ما عندما نشأت أزمة سوريا اختلفنا مع النظام وخرجنا من سوريا. نحن لسنا تبع لأحد، نحن أصحاب مبادئ وقيم، اللي بيساعدنا نقول له جزاك الله خير شكرا، لكن لا نقف مع أي طرف في أي موقف خاطئ.
ماذا عن الإدارة الجديدة في سوريا؟
بل احنا سعداء جدا بما حققه الشعب السوري من حرية، وبالتالي واليوم يحتفلون بذكرى يعني مرور عام. وبالمناسبة احنا حتى حماس في هذه الذكرى، يعني احنا اليوم في شهر ديسمبر بانطلاقة الحركة. الشعب السوري سعداء بما حققه، ومن حق كل شعب عربي أن ينعم بالحرية وبالكرامة وبلقمة العيش الكريم.
I know it sounds odd, but the United States now sits alongside Hamas against Israel in Syria, a remarkable turn of events by anyone's calculation, or maybe not, given Henry Kissinger once remarked that there are no permanent friends or enemies in geopolitics, only permanent interests. For Israel, this is a massive departure from what has been, at least until now, an unbreakable bond between it and the United States. You see, for 55 years, Israel and the Assad regime enjoyed a comfortable and predictable peace, mostly because Assad never challenged Israel's occupation of the Syrian Golan Heights. Israel also loved Assad because he cracked down on Hamas in Syria by jailing and executing its leaders, having viewed the Palestinian resistance group as an internal sectarian threat to his Alawite minority rule, a threat that was crystallized by the dictator's decision to butcher more than 3,000 Palestinians inside the Yarmouk refugee camp in 2015.
They were once a thriving community in Syria. Then came the Syrian uprising, and Palestinians there were among its first victims. Many were branded as terrorists and fled the country, while others took shelter in refugee camps.
بدي أسأل بالتاريخ كله لا فرعون ولا النمرود اللي حارب الله ولا هتلر سوى بشعبه مثل ما سووا بيت الأسد بشعب، وبيت الأسد بالذات قتلوا من الشعب الفلسطيني أكثر ما إسرائيل قتلت طول ال70 سنة من الشعب الفلسطيني. بدنا نسمع أهلنا بغزة الله هيك ينصرهم كرامة لوجه الله، أهلنا فلسطين الله يكون معهم، أنه عدوهم عم بضربهم صاروخ. أما أنت كرئيس تضرب برميل تنزل هذا الدمار، هذا لك طلع الطابق الرابع بالأرض، الله لا يوفقه فوق راس الناس، يعني شيء مو طبيعي، في شيء فوق الخيال.
Ultimately, Israel preferred Assad to stay in power because from its perspective, he was a known quantity, a leader it could easily work with, knowing that he hated and feared Palestinians just as much as Zionists do.
Well, Assad portrayed himself as a supporter of the Palestinian cause.
هو مجرد حدث في سياق طويل يعود إلى 75 عاما من الإجرام الصهيوني مع 32 عاما من سلام فاشل.
His regime's treatment of Palestinians in Syria says otherwise. By March 2011, the number of Palestinian refugees in Syria had risen to around 500,000. Syrian war. When the Syrian civil war began, several Palestinian refugee camps in Syria were targeted, with over 5,000 refugees fleeing a Ladiqiyya camp after a 2011 Assad's military attack. A report by the Syrian Network for Human Rights in 2020 highlights that these Palestinians faced the same severe violations as other Syrians, including crimes against humanity and war crimes. 87% of all violations against Palestinian refugees in Syria was by the Syrian regime.
The new Syria is far from perfect. We are talking about a country demoralized and destroyed by 5 decades of a brutal dictatorship and 13 years of a bloody civil war. Therefore, it goes without saying that a prompt return to armed conflict and oppression is the last thing on the wish list of ordinary Syrians. Instead, they're focused on finding their missing loved ones and rebuilding their country's shattered economy, as millions of Syrian refugees return home for the first time in more than a decade.
After former regime leader Bashar al-Assad fled to Russia, a power vacuum emerged. It was filled by a transitional government led by Ahmed al-Shara, who commanded opposition forces that liberated Syrian cities in the days leading up to December 8. The transitional authority moved quickly, dismantling the systems of oppression entrenched under Assad. The 2012 constitution was suspended, and parliament, the army, and security agencies were dissolved. As part of efforts to reverse years of repression, the government lifted Assad-era travel bans for around 5 million Syrians, restoring their right to move freely for the first time in decades. The new leadership held a national dialogue conference, inviting representatives from all communities as part of its commitment to rebuild Syria on the principles of free expression, human rights, and national unity.
Syrians might not be ready for a war against Israel right now, but if Israel persists in bombing their homeland, arming violent insurgencies, and sabotaging every hard-fought gain Syria has accomplished during the past year, then Israel be warned. We are talking about a people who not only ousted the 21st century's most barbaric despot, but also the combined forces of Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah, all of whom did their very worst in trying to prop up the deeply unpopular Syrian tyrant. Meanwhile, Israel is still incapable of defeating Hamas, a lightly armed militia that has no avenue for escape or opportunity for a tactical withdrawal. But despite this disadvantage, Hamas has only become stronger during the past 2 years, with an Israeli intelligence official telling the New York Times last week that, yes, Hamas was hit hard, but it wasn't defeated. It's still standing with more than 20,000 men under arms.
Support far from the fighting among Palestinians in the West Bank has more than tripled, and CNN reporting intelligence officials warn Hamas has positioned itself successfully in other parts of the Arab and Muslim world.
Israel's woes are doubly compounded when you add the regional superpower Turkey into the mix. It has invested heavily in building up the Syrian army and its own military presence in Syria, which is why Israeli leaders are now openly labeling the Turkish state a determined enemy, as others warn the two countries find themselves on the brink of war. A war in which the Zionist state will suffer unimaginable losses, given on one side you have Israel all by itself, but on the other side you have the combined forces of the Syrian army, Hamas, Turkey, and the United States. Good luck with that, Israel. You're certainly going to need it. And we explained in a recent episode why Syria promises to be Israel's Rubicon, but here's a veteran war correspondent and former US Army Ranger, Chuck Holton, with a perfectly succinct summary.
And if Israel has to go to war with Turkey, that's going to be really bad for a lot of reasons. First of all, Turkey has a much bigger military than even Iran, not bigger in terms of people, but bigger in terms of equipment, much more high tech. Their military budget is almost twice what Iran's military budget has been. They have a stronger economy in Turkey, so they can absorb the shocks of war more easily than Iran could. And if Turkey decides to go to war with Israel, they've got almost 300 F-16s and a whole bunch of Bayraktar drones that could be flying over Israel, and they're near peer competitors to the F-16.
Now, it wouldn't be right to talk about Syria without talking about Ahmed al-Ahmed, the Syrian-born Muslim who courageously risked his own life to save the lives of Jewish strangers during the attack on Sydney's Bondi Beach on Sunday. His unmistakable act of heroism not only saved countless lives, but also offers a powerful rebuke to Zionists who claim resistance to Israel's criminal occupation is rooted in anti-Semitism or ancient rivalries. For this reason, his bravery terrifies Israel, which is why Netanyahu claimed Ahmed to be a Jew, among other lies. His Islam-inspired courage is why Israel-friendly Australian media outlets refuse to include his Islamic faith in any of its headlines. And it's why the Israeli government is using the attack as an excuse to lobby United States Congress into suppressing all criticism of Israel on social media, including the attempted silence of our program. Remembering that Israel successfully pressured YouTube into demonetizing our channel along with thousands of others 12 weeks ago. Which means our survival is solely dependent on those who generously support our team via membership on Patreon. Therefore, we kindly ask that you please join them in supporting our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member at patreon.com/CJ Werleman. We can't produce, sustain, and grow this show without your help, and we offer exclusive content and benefits to those who do. But for now, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and stay blessed.